I'm Chris.
And I am Kristie.
And this is the Washing Up Podcast.
Megaphone edition.
Are we doing this for the whole episode?
Yes. Actually, probably not.
No, probably not. So that was one of my Christmas presents. Merry Christmas to everybody.
That keeps on giving.
Indeed. It was a present you weren't fond of at first, but...
No, it's grown on me.
Of course it has. It's a megaphone.
It has a record
setting on it, yeah.
Setting. We could have done the whole podcast on it.
Yes, and that would have been pointless, really. So, anyway, back to baking. And this week was Forgotten Bakes Week.
I know. I'm more of the Noel Fielding camp in terms of forgotten bakes. It's like, oh, that was in the oven a bit too long.
Yeah, everyone I spoke to, like Brendan was talking to us before, and he was sort of like, yeah, my forgotten bakes are all like the muffins in the oven. All of those sorts of forgotten bakes.
Me reheating a bread roll.
Or you reheating a bread roll, and me opening the oven
the next day and
going, did you make some bread? Because there's a roll right there.
I didn't make it. I just
reheated it.
Just reheated it.
Yeah, and you did a good job of it. It was so nicely reheated. It was good.
Until it cooled off.
So, forgotten bakes. Now, so the idea of this is bakes that people don't no longer make, aren't very popular. Did you have any that sprang to mind automatically?
Not really, because I'm pretty, like all my favourite bakes my mum still makes for us, the caramel slice and the trifle, so... Yeah.
My father would say that bread and butter pudding. He's a bandit for bread and butter pudding. Everyone goes, why bread and butter pudding when it's out there, except for Dad?
Yeah.
Go to a Sizzler.
There's bread and butter pudding at Sizzler.
Bread and butter pudding is always on the salad bar at Sizzler. And everyone just looks at it, except for my father, who just pushes to the front of the queue and just scoops it all into the bowl.
There is one thing. I mean, it's technically not a bake. I mean, Mum used to make this, like, the carnation milk caramel, until it was really thick, and then she'd pop popcorn and then drop a dollop of the caramel into the popcorn and roll it around, and then drizzle melted chocolate on top with nuts.
You've seen Great British Bake Off. That counts as a bake.
Yes, there is
all sorts of crazy things.
There was an oven present. So. There was
an oven somewhere in the room, probably at some point, vaguely, maybe, sort of. And we asked a couple of other people, and our friend of the show, good friend of the show, Beck Pobji, talked about the cornflake cookies.
Oh, okay. My mum, we always used to go to this little place called Capity growing up, where, like, people that we'd call my aunt and uncle, but we were related to them, as we found out later on down the track, by about, 6 degrees of separation. But on the way, Mum would always demand my aunt to make cornflake cookies, and she would, like, call before we left to make sure she was baking them. And then we used to have a timing run, like, we'd all have to guess the time we'd get there. And Mum would just be like, oh, we'll get there, have a cuppa and cornflake cookies. And I fucking hated the thing.
Yeah, no, we don't really have forgotten bakes within our family. We've got bakes that are required baking at certain times of the year.
Like your chicken and potato bake for your birthday, which may have been 2 days ago.
It was
Happy
yes.
Happy birthday to you.
We're not going to sing that, are we?
No,
we're not.
Because I don't have the megaphone.
No, you don't have the megaphone. But no, we have. My mother makes an amazing shortbread that she does. Usually at Christmas time, and Rocky Road, which she does at Christmas time.
So we gorged on those yesterday.
And the other one that...
And your aunt doesn't mean chocolate crackle.
And the other one that my aunt does, which isn't really a forgotten bake, but it's not as popular as they used to be. She does the
fairy cake.
The butterfly cakes. So the ones where you hollow it out, you put the cream, you put the lid back on top of it, and then you dust it in icing sugar.
Yeah, some people call them angel cakes. Some people call them fairy cakes. Some people call them... What did you call them? Butterfly cakes?
Yeah. But no, they're a requirement. My cousin demands those. But we don't really have forgotten bakes.
No, because we've forgotten about them.
Yeah, I mean, we could remember them. That would be fantastic. So what they decided to do for the Forgotten Bakes Challenge was the first one was Bedfordshire Clangers.
Which essentially are a Cornish pasty.
Yeah.
Without the pasty.
Yeah, or the Cornish.
No, the Bedfordshireans.
For the Bedfordshireans. I said early on that I thought that it sounded more like something that Val would make up. She'd be talking about her Bedfordshire Clangers.
These are popular with my grandkids.
And everyone would be looking at it going, what?
You know what you don't want to do? You don't want to drop a clanger? Oh.
No, and again, look, when the Australian Bake Off drops a clanger...
It's usually in the form of fuck shit.
Yeah, it's Sweary Canary going, fuck. That's more common. So the idea of this is it's supposed to be sweet at one end, savoury at the other.
Because the idea behind it was women would cook it for their agricultural husbands. So they'd make a thick crust so they could just discard it, and they'd eat their way down from the savoury to the sweet as a one pastry meal.
It's the all-in-one. Not a bad idea.
I'd prefer to be Stephen's husband, because his clanger was big. And you know what they say about a big clanger. You'll never get hungry in the field.
I was about to say I regret this, but what do they say about a big clanger? No. And Liam was talking about the fact that he wanted to go with a revolutionary concept with his clanger. He wanted the pastry to keep the contents in.
Ooh.
Now, revolutionary thought there by Liam.
I know, because who would have thought you wanted a contained clanger?
I know.
You didn't want a leaky clanger, as they were all saying.
Yeah, as we said, there is nothing worse than when you've got a leaky clanger.
Which I hope, a lot of people in Australia haven't had with dodgy seafood from yesterday.
Now, I was genuinely impressed, by the way. One of the things that Noel Fielding did tonight that just warmed the cockles of my heart.
You have cockles?
I do.
The lower cockles?
And he warmed them, the subcockle area. They're near the liver and the kidneys. So one of the things I was really impressed with by Noel Fielding was that Noel made reference to the Clangers, the BBC television show that not many people in Australia ever bothered to watch. It was only on ABC very briefly, and it was had to really look for it. The Clangers, it's a very British thing, obviously British Bake Off. Okay. And when they said Clangers, the first thing I went to was the Clangers, this show.
So what was it about?
So it's about this they're Clangers. They're like mice, rat things, and they go around and they sort of a bit like the Wombles as well, and they're gathering stuff, and they make lots of high pitched noises.
So they're poor man's Wombles.
No, before the Wombles. Wombles are ridiculous. They're a Mike Bat. Don't something on my bat.
They're Womble Neanderthals. They're like pre-evolutionary Wombles.
We'll save that for the Clanger podcast. Okay. The Clanger deep dive, as we're going to call it. But I love the Clangers, so I was really happy to see Noel Fielding first of all mention it and then talk like a Clanger for the rest of the part. Now, I thought there were a couple of interesting decisions. I thought that Kate going with basically a burrito Clanger. She went modern, which for Kate is weird.
Enjoy your burrito.
I don't know what Kate was thinking. She went really modern.
Well, she probably looked at it and thought, this looks like a burrito, but with pastry.
Yeah, but I would have thought Bedfordshire Clanger. Surely she would have pulled out some wild boar and roast goose and
pheasant.
And yeah, exactly. And then for the savoury one, she would have found something that had been eaten by William of Normandy himself.
Gooseberry.
And come up with gooseberries. Or the other one was Sophie went with char siu. So
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, going off and doing basically barbecue Chinese pork. Yeah.
It was essentially like barbecue pork bun.
It was barbecue pork bun. But
which is smart, because you can get those pastry barbecue pork bun-y things.
You can. Her other one, though, that went with it, which didn't really go with it, as the judges sort of pointed out, was banana praline.
Oh, that's wrong. You know what she should have done? Mango.
She should have. It would have gone well.
With a little cream dip at the end.
Yeah, she would have had a mango pancake.
Like a mango pancake, yeah.
That would have been perfect for us. Stacey went interestingly, because Stacey went with camembert and onion on one end, which I like that. Yeah. And what was the big contentious thing they were talking about was her apple and blueberry one, which had custard running through it. And they were all worried that the custard wasn't going to set. It did, and then some. It was really good.
Perfect. Except for a bit of leakage.
Yeah, but they all had a little bit of leakage. Sophie had an interesting night. We're going to talk a little bit more about this as we go along with Sophie. But Sophie had a weird night because she scored the clanger. Put the score marks through it, which meant it leaked.
It wasn't,
and it wasn't as robust as a normal pastry would have been.
Like Liam's was scored too, but he did the little slits down horizontally down his clanger. Ow,
ouchie! But yeah, it was just an interesting. I thought it was a really interesting philosophy to go on with. And Stephen clearly tonight a couple of times pointed out that he'd definitely seen Bake Off before. The point where he commented on, "I've got a huge clanger."
And then you don't want a hot nut in your face.
Yeah, and then later on, once again, it's the second time this season, by the way, he's made a reference to a hot nut in your face.
I'm sure there's quite a few people out there who would be happy with a hot nut from Stephen in their face.
And now the only complaint they had really with Kate's one was that they said that it actually lacked a bit of seasoning, to which my response was, but she tried to give it more seasoning.
She dropped it on the floor.
She dropped it on the floor.
She dropped a clanger.
She dropped a clanger. So, and
she's
then
here all night.
And Stephen, of course, had his mini moment where he had the where Stephen put his clangers into a paper bag like it was at a bakery. Get it out of your system.
Okay, and then Paul's like, he's like to Paul, "What? Don't you have these at your bakery?" And like Paul looks at him like he's just like, I don't know.
Paul claps and the help brings him food.
He's like, sweetie darling, if it's
think I go?
Nothing in my bakery is served in these paper bags. Ew.
You think I said foot in my bakery?
No, I have slaves to come in and gold loincloths.
And we got our first Hollywood handshake in a while.
Oh no,
and it was Stacey. Oh,
Stacey's clangers have got it going on.
You're never going to get tired of that one, are you?
No one's going to get tired of that. People tune in for my Stacey's clangers.
At this point, we went to the technical. Now, we went from Bedfordshire clangers to Cumberland rum nickies. Now,
which I'm sure is made up.
Now, at this point, I believe I pointed out that I thought that Paul Hollywood was just inventing bakes and naming them after sort of semi-sea shanty type 17th century things.
He's probably got like 3 pots of things. He's got like a pot full of English towns. Human names.
And a pot full of types of booze.
Yes.
And we'll draw out a Cumberland rum Nicky. So it was perfect. And at this point, I was thinking to myself, well, you know, there's got to be a follow-up challenge to this.
Yes.
So what I suggested instead was that you needed to have, you know, a third sort of concept, and it needed to have the right name. I thought a toddling Mildred.
That's beautiful.
Now,
yes.
What would a toddling Mildred be? Now, one of our friends, Gabby, pointed out that she thought it would be a boozy spotted dick flambe.
Oh, I think it would be a pastry in the shape of Mildred from Mildred and George. Again, soaked in some kind of booze.
Oh, it has to be.
Probably like, I don't know, brandy or something cheap. What's that other one that's really cheap? My mum used to buy it all. Sherry.
Goon?
Sherry. Soaked in sherry and stuffed with whatever dried fruit.
Whatever dried fruit was in season at the time. Seasonal stuffed dried fruit. No, that would make a hell of a lot of sense.
Preferably boxed raisins.
I don't know. I thought that it would probably be something like a jam-filled sponge, like a normal sort of meal. So it's like normal. Yeah. But then it would just be drowned in Contro.
Oh, I'm a fan of Contro.
So basically you make a normal sponge with the cream and the jam, and then you just douse the thing in Contro. In fact, I would soak it overnight.
In Contro. Would there be any sponge left?
Who cares by that point?
You just wake up and eat them.
By that point, you're just inhaling Contro.
It's a toddling Mildred then. Once it's like lost its structure.
That's the point.
It's like, you know, toddling around on your plate like a little toddler.
It's no longer a normal Mildred. A normal Mildred would be a cake just sitting there. Toddling Mildred would be tipsy, be all over the place, be a whole shape.
You couldn't get a proper slice of it.
This is what I'm thinking.
Oh, I like it.
I've got logic behind my ideas sometimes.
You need to make me a toddling Mildred. Seriously.
That didn't sound weird at all.
You've got 5 weeks off.
I've got time off, you're right. I do probably have the ability to make you that.
Yes.
So we moved into, rather than toddling Mildred, which again would have been lovely, the Cumberland rum Nicky. Now, basically, it's a tart that's full of fruit and rum.
Yeah.
Basically. Now,
tiny chopped up fruit.
Now, this goes back to a couple of key points of this whole night. The first thing.
Yes.
Mary Berry would have loved this episode.
Fuck yeah. She'd be down for the booze. Are we sure she's not out the back as a showrunner? Coming up with all the challenges?
Well, I mean, we all saw the Christmas photo of her and Prue together with aprons.
Oh, my God. God, that gave me life.
Prue with the what would Mary Berry do and Mary with the what would Prue do.
Because we were saying that and I didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So I think that Mary Berry, I'm sure that Paul did this challenge as an homage to Mary.
Yes.
And there were a couple of times tonight where you had challenges where there were tons of booze being put into bakes. So I thought that was interesting. And there were a couple of people who really took it to the extreme.
I like how there was no measuring cups. So.
Let's talk about Sophie for a minute.
Yes.
Now, Sophie, when she made it, first of all, everyone else made it to the width of the tin.
She's like, it needs to stay within this tin.
Sophie went with the confines of the tin and moved it into the middle. The other thing that Sophie did with her lattice work was she didn't really do lattice work. She bunched it so tight that it was a sealed vacuum over the top, and the idea of the lattice... It
was more basket weaving.
But it was really tight, even for basket weaving. You wouldn't have lost water if you had it upside down. And the problem with this is that the booze needs to evaporate out of it.
Yeah, what do you
so
think
basically,
of that?
when you open it up, it would just be hit you in the face rum.
She was
and again, Mary Berry, I believe, was at that point in the Mary Berrymobile.
She was making sure there was the rum in the rum Nicky.
She was in the Mary Berrymobile, speeding towards the tent, going, "I'll save you." We also had a theme of all the bakers telling us that this isn't really my kind of baking. No fucking duh.
Yeah, no one's heard of this fucking pie.
No, they're all going, so we've got to make a rum Nicky. And everyone's looking around going,
yeah.
Anyone?
Yeah.
You know what that is? I don't know what that is. Stephen's lattice work. Let's discuss.
I just love how long he took. Like, I remember in Great Australian Bake Off last year, they got the little roller to make it easier when they were making their, what's it called, Yorkshire lamb pudding things.
Yes, using Moran lamb.
Using Moran lamb.
But what I thought was really fascinating about the lattice work was there were two different styles.
Wellingtons. See, these... I'm just caught in, like, fucking Paul's bowl of English town names.
Draw it everyone else, Stanford. So,
Chelmsford. Oh.
So, Stephen's lattice work versus, say, Kate's.
Look, I really like that Stephen was going for it, and I think if he pulled it off, it would have been perfect.
I think both of them were flawed. Both of them were deeply flawed.
And I think Stephen was lucky that he fucked it up.
Stephen went for the IKEA lattice work. Looks like you've done lattice work. All you've done in reality is put a few nicks in some pastry and then pulled it and gone, oh, look, it's lattice.
Do you think it's called a louflet ding dong?
Yeah, I something along those lines. Lots of U's with umlauts. And Kate, meanwhile, everyone else is being very delicate, laying the weave over the top of theirs. Kate just grabs it with her hand and just goes thump and slams it on top, pulls the paper off and goes, I think I might have made a mistake with that. And it's just so wide that, you know, if there were 4 and 20 blackbirds in that pie, they wouldn't have been baked. They would have flown away.
Skip them off.
They would have, in fact, been a bird sanctuary, and it would have been able to escape before they got into the oven.
You could have used the pie to, like, feed them like they do at Currumbin Bird Sanctuary, though.
Oh, there we go. There's an ad for Currumbin Bird Sanctuary. I do.
Yeah.
I've been there several times.
I did that.
Deeply disappointing every time.
Yeah, they pooped on me.
Yeah.
And then Mum bought us the shirts that looked like birds had pooped on you. It had the puffy paint on it.
But you already had that.
Exactly.
Why did you need to buy a shirt?
Inception.
You already had an actual shirt with poop on it.
I think it's just a thing whenever we went to Queensland for a holiday, they had to reinforce how, like, you know, like emotionally scarring it is.
We seem to be doing deep dives on you every couple of weeks and your background, and it always seems to involve a Queensland holiday. Let's move on before we get back to Expo.
Yeah.
So there have been a few technicals this year.
Yes.
That everyone's fucked up. Like, I think the baking quality this year has been higher than last year.
Oh, absolutely.
But they've fucked up the technical more.
Well, this whole episode, it must have been a notch up, and everyone's probably fucking tired as hell. Like, it's been, you know, they're down to the finals. So everyone's tired as hell. They're doing 3 bakes that no one's ever heard of, you know, that could literally have been made up. Well, maybe not the Savoy cake, because I've heard of that, but just all these things that, how can I put it, may not be difficult, but just because of the context, are pushing everyone.
Exactly, and there's a bit of a challenge on with this in terms of, you know, that the grand final's just around the corner. So you're You feel it more, and obviously every week's an elimination week, but you feel it more when you can see the finals.
Exactly, and it's more precarious too because it's just the little things, you know, if you don't get something quite right, that's enough.
And, I mean, that was something we saw, we heard last week when we spoke to Monica, and she was talking about that pressure as you get closer and closer and closer, you feel that it sort of gets that little bit more intense with every bake.
I know, I felt that on Vidiot, you know. Okay, back
as you go.
Sorry, I'm in therapy mode. I really need to just focus on the bakes.
Yeah, next week's podcast, we haven't told her this, just block your ears for a minute. Next week's podcast is actually a therapy session. So please send in the things that you want to know deep diving into Kristie's past.
Oh, God.
We're here to help.
Oh, what a way to start the new year.
We're here to help. Now, Paul really is averse to saying the word soggy bottom this year, isn't he?
Yeah, it's under bake, which it was.
Yeah, but
Raw.
it's a soggy bottom. We watched the Australian cookbook thing today with
Maggie Beer,
who was openly talking about soggy bottoms.
Not afraid to talk about a soggy bottom.
No, if Maggie Beer has no fear of a soggy bottom,
yeah,
neither should you, Paul Hollywood. Neither should you.
Means a completely different thing on Oxford Street, though.
Vastly different. Vastly different. In fact,
Anyway.
in some quarters, it's priced. Anyway, in the technical, and the reason why the technical was actually important this week is I'm convinced that the technical was the deciding factor. So you had Liam was last in the technical. Then you had Sophie. Then you had Stacey. Then you had Kate. Then you had Stephen.
Which is weird because Liam was at the top for the Clangers.
Yes. Liam was at the top for the Clangers. Kate, I actually thought, was unlucky not to win the technical. Stephen won it because his tasted good. And Stephen was doing the opposite of what he normally does. His first two bakes tasted great but looked horrible.
Yeah.
And normally they look amazing and they taste terrible.
So he's kind of swung the other way with the pendulum.
Yeah,
so he needs to bring it back into the centre.
Well, he did in the third challenge.
Yeah.
He did it with his chestnut rum Savoy. He did that. He brought it back to it. Looks amazing, but the flavours... But I thought Kate was unlucky not to win the technical, and I'm pretty sure that the technical is what got her home in the end over Liam. So let's go on to that. So we go on to the showstopper, a Victorian Savoy cake. Now, I had a bit of an issue with the Victorian Savoy cake.
Because it's not an edible cake. It's not designed to be edible.
Yeah, the cake is designed, they said openly, it's something that was basically inedible. It looked good, but it really wasn't edible. Well, what we want you to do is just make a version of it that's edible. Well, there's absolutely no rules on that for a start, apart from make it tall. So I know
Had to be on a plinth.
I know somebody's bubka that would have worked beautifully. Hey, Antonio. So I think that, I don't know, I know you can do, it's in the spirit of this, but jazz it up a little bit. But it's not really a forgotten bake. Everyone knows it exists. It was just like it was shit.
Well, you didn't eat it. It was there to look pretty.
Exactly. So make a centrepiece, but an edible centrepiece. Well,
I just got to say, though, like, Victorians like their dressy dinners, but, like, was it because it was, like, really, they were being extra frugal? They wanted to look like they had cake but didn't eat cake?
I remember a lot of the time, too, with in the Victorians as well, it was the sugar. Just having the sugar was a sign
of wealth.
Wealth.
Which, if they went for Liam's cake...
which is also why the British had this tradition of history of having such bad teeth, it was the amount of sugar.
Really?
That was where that whole stereotype of bad British teeth came from.
Oh, okay.
They had horrible teeth because, if you were somewhat wealthy, you had mountains of sugar.
But the poor also had bad teeth because they had
but that was
dental
different.
hygiene.
They had no dental hygiene, and they were eating, flour that had been milled in something that still contained stone. Yes. So you're probably chipping your teeth on that loaf of bread you just bought,
and suffering from rickets
and rickets and
not getting any sons.
They're bringing scurvy back. What?
Okay.
So moving back on to the Victorian Savoy cake. So we had a couple of firsts in this. The biggest first was Stacey. Let's talk Stacey, because Stacey had a good night.
Yeah, she was baking so well. She went, fuck it, I don't need an oven door.
I've never seen anyone rip the oven door off before.
Stacey smash!
Stacey crush! And I like the way that she pulled the door off its hinges, then sort of basically at one point just held the door on.
I just needed to cook for a little bit longer.
pushed the door against the oven, and everyone's offering her oven, and she's like, no, you just keep cooking. I'll do this, and just pushed the oven door back on and held it there.
And it is something I'm loving seeing, just those little touches of everyone showing how helping they are to each other.
And Stacey going, fuck you all. So now she referred to hers as a bright lemon and orange Savoy cake, and that was kind of an understatement, really, wasn't it?
She went for a signature pink.
Yeah, look, Stacey believes that if you're going to say something, say it in pink.
Exactly. She really has taken, like, a lot of, I don't know, Legally Blonde just springs to mind.
Yeah, look, I'm disappointed there hasn't been more flamingo work from her this year.
No.
It would work beautifully. So I thought she did, and it was interesting as well because they didn't love her cake. They didn't hate it. They didn't love it. They went, the flavour on this bit was good and this bit was good.
Yeah, the lemon was good, the orange wasn't.
You've tried to do too much.
Yeah.
And I think what made her...
She went a little flora.
She went very flora.
She went, I'll make some macarons.
But I think what made her star baker was they just ignored the fact that she went very flora and went, the cake itself...
was good. And the presentation...
was probably the best of the cakes.
Yeah.
Presentation was pretty good.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't have put the macarons on there, which she was saying when she pulled it out of the oven. I don't know if I should put these on.
They're a little too big.
Yeah, they're not baked enough, or it's all soggy. Which should they work?
Like, she was probably just taking inspiration from someone's camel.
Sophie.
Pyramid ratio.
Sophie.
Yes.
Now, Sophie made citrus with green apple croquembouche.
She had suicidal macarons just trying to leap off the bench.
Fucking croquembouche.
She should have just pushed
Seriously.
it.
There are a couple of things I'm a little bit over. Croquembouches are one of those things.
Not when I'm eating it.
No. But
you
like
can,
in terms
you can
of...
serve me a croquembouche.
Like yuzu, and I missed the fact there was yuzu tonight.
Just leave it alone, Buchanan.
It wasn't just me. We had people on Twitter turning around.
Yuzu is good.
Yeah, but it's everywhere. We've talked about
Who
this.
cares?
It's like
if
matcha.
It's good.
It's like matcha.
It's like chocolate. If chocolate's good, put it everywhere. Matcha, that's a different...
No, you can't go matcha. It's a different thing to yuzu.
Yeah, because matcha tastes like arse.
Some people may think that yuzu tastes like arse, to pause in an awkward moment like you did.
But not me. So in my
world,
Uzu's okay with me.
in your what?
Uzu's all right with me. I'm trying to do that Jesus is.
I know that Jesus is still all right with me thing. Yeah, well done. So Sophie went with the green apple croquembouche. Oh, look, it looked good.
Yes.
Sophie, we had a bit of a talk about this tonight. Sophie's good. She's very good.
She doesn't wow me though.
There's no
Nadia soda pop can.
There's no excitement.
There's no sticky bar floor.
I don't get the feeling with Sophie that she's got this amazing, overwhelming, I've never seen this before bake. What I get with Sophie is she's going to make you something that is very good.
Yes.
Every time. And I love that, and it's consistency, and it's great, and it's not a negative at all.
No.
But I like a bit of the showmanship.
Yeah.
And Sophie doesn't...
She needs a bit of Selassie. She needs Selassie to come in and just give her a bit of a...
She needs a bit of Selassie, but with the flavours working.
Yes.
She needs to be Fee, but with a bit of luck, which Fee didn't get, in all of her flavours, where something just didn't work every time.
Yeah.
Most of which wasn't her doing.
If you combine Stacey and Sophie together, you'd have the perfect baker.
I think you can want Sophie and Stephen.
Oh,
because Sophie's consistent, and let's talk about Stephen. I am now convinced that Stephen just spends all of his time making flowers.
Well, when you're that fucking good at it,
I agree.
It's amazing.
I agree. Look, and Selassie did the same thing in his season. Selassie piped flowers like a pro, and therefore just piped flowers.
But how sweet is it that Stephen made 150 of them for his mum for her birthday?
It's incredibly sweet.
She's so gorgeous.
It's incredibly sweet, but has nothing to do with him going through in this show. It has nothing to do with him going through in this show.
I know, but it's still sweet.
And he did revert to type, whereas he made something that looked spectacular, but the flavour was a bit not quite there.
Oh, it's chestnuts.
If you're going to put chestnuts in it, please make it taste like chestnut. That was the philosophy.
Yeah, but what do chestnuts taste like?
I'm going with an open fire.
Roasting. I don't know for 5.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with. I don't know for sure.
A friend of mine tried to cook chestnuts the other day.
Did they explode? Because they do have a habit of exploding.
No, I think she just fucked them up royally. Hey, Janina.
No,
I don't think you're listening.
But normally, like, they do have a habit of going bang. They're quite dangerous, actually.
Are they?
Yeah. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Everybody duck. That's the next part of that song. Jack Frost isn't nipping at you. You're ducking flaming chestnuts. Now, on a personal note, and again, I never like saying this, but I agreed with Paul Hollywood. When Kate said that she was making the Liver building, I just said straight away, well, she's through. Move her through. She deserves to go through. The Liver building, what a building. What a bird. What a crest. If only there was a football team that could use that as their logo. Oh, yes, there is. Hang on a minute. There definitely is. No. I thought it was bold of Kate. Mm-hmm. I didn't quite think she pulled it off.
No.
It looked like the Liver building was in need of an upgrade. It looked like works projects.
It was more like someone in their Year 6 class was asked to make a diorama of their local area. And she's got, I've made the Liver Tower. Is that what it's called?
Liver. It's the Liver building.
Why is it called Liver, not Liver?
Because it's called the Liver building. That's what it is.
But it's Liverpool. It's not Liverpool.
I know. James May has asked the same question a couple of times on Top Gear when he's been in Liverpool.
It's a good question, James. Keep asking it.
Anyway, so she made the Liver building. My thing was that it resembled the Liver building in about 1981 when Margaret Thatcher was trying to shut Liverpool down as a city. It was falling to pieces. It was, the brick was coming off. Not like after it was European city and modern culture, and the hub of all the world as we know it, which it is.
And amazing football.
And amazing music. Thank you, the Beatles. So, and I like the fact that, I didn't like the fact she broke the Liver bird, but I did like the way that she managed to scramble and put a new one together. That was really good improvisation. She did a great job of that.
Rip its head off.
Yes. But I thought that she didn't do a good job of it. Then we get to Liam.
I loved his concept. As a Harry Potter fan, I'm down for a wizard tower.
Feel free to go discuss his concept.
Look, when I'm thinking wizard tower, I'm thinking massive, like, magic wand stuck down the middle of it. I'm thinking, like, electrified, like, fucking spun sugar everywhere, just going. It was very Pratchett-esque, I feel. It was more like of a Pratchett wizard tower than a Potter wizard tower. But still, love the concept. However, as pointed out, spun sugar, not made to last.
Speaking of things that I'm over, spun sugar.
Oh my god.
Spun sugar. Except for the first Croquembouche on MasterChef Australia. Except for that, I am yet to find a challenge where I saw the spun sugar and thought, that really added to that.
You're a bit curmudgeonly, my love.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
Can you think of an example?
Yes, because on MasterChef a couple of years ago, they did a spun sugar challenge where they had to spin the sugar, and it was the first one up to the line.
Yeah, but that's an actual spun sugar challenge.
Yes.
I'm talking about adding spun sugar to something that didn't need it. And then I've looked at it and gone, well, that spun sugar really accentuates.
Well, they've been adding the little flowers to the spun sugar these days. That's quite pretty.
Can be.
Yeah.
However, I'm still struggling to find an example of adding spun sugar to something that didn't need it. And this didn't need it. And more importantly, the structure didn't look very good.
It was a little...
It was very wonky.
It was more Pratchett than Potter.
You're right, it was very Pratchett. But then he put it on so early. He went, I'm early, and was done way before everyone else. So he put the spun sugar on the cake, like a long time out from judging. It's a warm cake, you've done spun sugar. What do you think is going to happen to this?
I'm not defending it.
I'm not saying you are.
Yeah.
I'm saying to Liam, just think things through.
Well, he is now, because I saw him on Insta with Selassie
crying
at Disney on Ice. It was gorgeous. The Lion King isn't emotional.
See, you enjoyed that. I just enjoyed his reactions the other day to Manchester United not winning in the League Cup. But anyway, be that as it may. So we get towards... We got sort of through that challenge in... It was weird. I couldn't quite tell if I thought anyone had done well. It was a weird week. I couldn't tell if I thought anyone had done well.
No, it was very much just... I understood where they're at, and I don't begrudge them. And I think for the context that they're in and the point that we're at, it's understandable.
Now, they referred to, one of them was referred to as haphazard. Again, it's informal.
The term you're looking for is informal.
It's not haphazard. That was Liam's. It's a bit haphazard. It's informal. Now, Liam clearly, I think, he did better in... He did better than Kate in the first challenge.
Yeah.
Definitely. I thought that Kate marginally did better in the third challenge.
Yeah.
It's one of these rare occasions where, the technical was not very good, but the fact that she came second and he came last in the technical...
Yeah, it kind of pushed him down.
And at this point of the competition, that's fair.
Yeah.
Like, if this was week 2... You
Different
go,
story.
that's not really right. And if everyone bombed the technical, like happened a couple of weeks ago, where everyone bombed the technical and then they went, we'll just throw that out and pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But in this one, I got it.
Yeah.
It made sense. I think that Kate's got 9 lives.
Yes.
I don't know how she keeps just...
Well, because she just has, like, her wizarding skills with blacksmithing and WHSing. They need to keep her around to keep her safe.
Her wizarding skills, in this case, put her past someone who made a wizard's tower.
Exactly. She's like, my liver building is better than your wizard tower.
Indeed it was. I thought that Stacey was the right call for Star Baker. And look, good on her. I mean... She does some questionable things at times, but she's got a bit of pizzazz.
Yes.
I like the pizzazz.
You know, that person someone who can confidently use that, like, shade of pink.
And doesn't apologise.
No, it's just like...
I know what I do, and I'm going to keep doing it until you tell me to stop it.
Yeah.
So, next week, semi-finals.
Exciting.
Now, this means a couple of things. First of all, it means obviously we're getting close to the end of Great British Bake Off. Secondly, Great Australian Bake Off is almost here.
Yay!
Almost here. As you've been hearing, we've been doing little bits and pieces with some former contestants. We're going to continue doing this in the lead up.
Yes.
So keep your ears open. There may be a few other big surprises coming up. If you haven't...
One second. How do you close your ears, though?
Oh, there are many people who can. Just look at the number of people that ignore Trump.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
So... keep your ears open for those ones coming up. If you haven't listened to them in the archives, we had a great chat with Liesl a few weeks ago where we just talked about her time in Bake Off, apropos of nothing to do with British Bake Off. We just wanted to talk to Liesl.
Yes, she's awesome.
And then last week, if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to last week's episode where we talked to Monica from last season's Great Australian Bake Off, a finalist, of course, from last year's Australian Bake Off.
Indeed, and fellow Cafe Joya diner.
Yes, we found that out too. That chat with Monica was absolutely brilliant, and she is hilarious and a wonderful woman. Follow her at Moorish Cakes on Facebook again, and just go and bask in the magnificence that is her cake work.
Yes,
and her gingerbread houses, which wow,
oh my god,
there's structures you could live in.
Oh, like if I was hold on, I am a witch. If someone's going to build me my gingerbread house, it's Monica.
Definitely, 100%.
If I'm into eating children, that's who we baking my gingerbread house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. If you're into eating children.
Well, because it's the Hansel and Gretel thing.
I know, but that I'm now very worried, Chris.
Look, I think it's kind of stupid that you're out there living in the middle of the woods and you choose gingerbread as like it's got no structural integrity.
Oh, there's no build quality.
Like, what are you doing? And you're baking in it.
It's like the Great Australian Bake Off last year where they chose to make them, make gingerbread houses out of not gingerbread. And then wondered why the houses were falling down.
I mean, and they only last so long. So, like, in the weather and, with the robust stove conditions you need to bake children and cage them and force them into slavery, which is what I've read.
I'm a little bit worried about the amount of, theorising you've got on this.
Look, it was a puzzling thing to me as a child as to why a witch would choose to live in a gingerbread house.
So look forward to joining me next week here on the podcast. I can't guarantee Kristie won't be in prison.
This is all theoretical.
yeah, that's what they all say.
Eat children, they're too little.
And then they let the Shetland pony go. Anyway, I'm still Chris.
I'm still insane, allegedly.
And also Kristie. And we'll catch you all later.
Ciao.